You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
So, Rosie, I'm watching the Dallas Stars game on Wednesday night, and all I could think about was Thursday night, the Maple Leafs hosting the Detroit Red Wings. Please, 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 please keep everybody healthy. If you got to play Steven Lorentz the entire game. It's Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill. The Thursday edition of Leafs Morning Take, presented by Bet365. What's up, Rosie?
This is what's up.
Oh, he got his T-shirt. Here we go. He got his T-shirt.
Apparently, you just got to check the mail. I thought it would be at the doorstep, but there's old school mailboxes still.
That is classic Rosie complaining, and then I'm like, maybe check your mailbox, and it's in your mailbox.
I don't know where the mailbox key is. I have to wait for my wife to do stuff. Yeah, dude, staying healthy tonight is paramount. It'll be interesting to see the minutes played, little dispersion after the game to see what Craig Berube had in his mind as far as rolling them out there and keeping the big boys rested. And I don't know, man. It's one disaster you have to avoid.
That series price changed quickly. The Dallas-Colorado one, where it was Colorado was a minus 130 favorite. Now they're minus 140. We know no Heiskanen and Jason Robertson is what I'm alluding to. Gets hurt in that game, leaves the arena in a brace. That is like worst case scenario, man. Just good juju manifesting a strong game for the Maple Leafs. And to your point, I think you made this point last week. Just play your game. I think when you start changing your game to not get hurt, that's when you get hurt.
Seems to be. I think that's a theme with athletes. Like when you're tippy-toeing around trying not, it throws things off. It throws you out of sync. And that's kind of the areas where you do get hurt. So don't even think about it. I don't think the guys will be. Go out there and just play. You look at the Jason Robertson thing. It kind of looked like a little Charlie horse to me and then he leaves the game, doesn't come back. It's like, well, maybe they're just like, screw it. Like you got a Charlie horse sit down and no need to go back out there. But then leaving the building in a brace. Ooh, Lord, that is not what you want. It was an innocent little thing too, just kind of a guy throwing his hip into him and into his arse, and not good, man. That's again, that's the one bullet you have to dodge here as the Maple Leafs as you're playing this game. Can't send anyone out. You're right at the cap. You got to play everybody. It's kind of unfortunate in a way, but I think they'll be all right.
Well, that's the interesting thing with Dallas. Like, why was Robertson playing? They had plenty of cap space, LTIR space. It didn't make much sense to me. But our Super Chat charity partner this season is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. Man, I can't believe we're almost there. They're 2 sleeps away. The schedule's out. As we've been talking about throughout the week, game 1's going to be on Sunday night, man. I cannot wait for that one.
I know. It's so close, dude. Matchups are set. Schedule's out. Just this one little, just this one game that's kind of a formality, I guess you would call it. I can't say I'm going to be too terribly invested in. I imagine, obviously, Joseph Woll's going to play. And like we spoke, we'll see, like, fourth line going to get some minutes to buzz. See if we can get some chem last minute going on with some guys, get them feeling each other out. We talked about it before the game or before the show. Those 2 guys on the back end, are they playing or are they not? That's going to be a huge one for me to see if our two of our top 4 D-men and McCabe and OEL, if they're going to be playing or not. I'm leaning towards they will be there.
Yeah, I saw a video actually just before we came on here. OEL skating Scotiabank Arena. I think these guys are trending, just my opinion, trending towards being available for game 1 and all hands on deck, including Max Pacioretty, which is a welcome sight. But I think from the Maple Leafs perspective, you would tend to agree. If there's one way to go in the Stanley Cup playoffs, it's probably the way the Maple Leafs are right now. They're red hot. They've won 4 in a row, 8 of 9, 6-1-0 in April, 13-5-1 since the trade deadline. Like, more times than not, every year there's reason for concern or entering the playoffs. I don't have that feel this year, Rosie.
Yeah, like last year, it just has a much different vibe than last year. They're dicking around with 70 and who's doing what, and things were kind of locked up. I do think they have so many more ducks in a row right now. They're firing on all cylinders from the back to the front to the depth to. I don't really think you could ask to be in a better spot. And I know no one really likes to give Maple Leafs their flowers when you're talking about the playoffs, but like, honestly, the past doesn't dictate the future. It just doesn't. I understand what's happened, but that has nothing to do what's going to happen in the playoffs. I'm not saying you can't lose or have a disappointing, but just because something happened in the past, it doesn't dictate what happens. It just doesn't. It doesn't really mean anything. It's a new group of guys. It's a new coach. It's a new philosophy. It's not. It's got nothing to do with it. So it's, in my mind, it's a fresh slate, and you couldn't ask for more to be in a position where they are at the end of the season, just red hot, as you mentioned, going into the most important part of the year.
Yeah, and it should be a lot of fun to get you set. By the way, coming up on Friday, we're going to release the, we talked about it earlier this season, but the interview and the video in Adam Copeland's Man Cave with Stephen Brunt. We're going to drop that on the TLN YouTube channel at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Coming up on Friday, I got a firsthand look at it last night. It was tremendous. I should mention as well, the majority of the team is going to be down at Greta Bar on King Street West for pre and post game activity, at least for game one. Coming up on Sunday, if not game two, coming up on Tuesday. And it's always good to sort of get with the community as well. And I could tell you safely, this city is jacked, man. The Battle of Ontario, the Leafs back in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and a lot of optimism surrounding this team right now, Rosie.
Oh, I bet there's a huge buzz. I remember driving to games, and the Air Canada Center, it was called at the time, and the lights are going on top. And you can just feel this energy and a buzz in the core of downtown Toronto. I can't imagine what it's going to be like on Sunday. I think everyone is on board. Everyone's pretty excited about this team, where they're at, what they can do. Their opponent gives it that extra level of intensity. So pretty exciting time of year right now. Again, we just got to get through this garbage game tonight, and it'll be go time.
Just don't get hurt. That's the biggest key for this game against Detroit. Don't forget to check out nationgear.ca for some playoff merch as well. Now we go. Rosie's donning the t-shirt today, one of 3 different colors you can purchase right now. nationgear.ca for that. Also, don't forget to check out tonight's edition of TLN After Dark with Zach Phillips. We'll tie a bow on the regular season and continue to get you set for round 1 here of the Battle of Ontario coming up on Sunday night here at Scotiabank Arena. And we got 2 really great guests, one of which we're about to get to here, Rosie. Jonas Hogland of the Pat Quinn era Maple Leafs, and Derek Lalonde, the now former head coach of Detroit, won 2 Stanley Cups with Tampa, coming up here too.
Yeah, excited to talk to these guys about their experiences. They've all got a lot of it, and specifically with Jonas to start off here, he played in that era where the Battle of Ontario was a very big thing, 3 out of 4 years, and obviously got the better end of the Senators back then. But all I'm seeing on my feed lately is the highlights from those series, and it was a war. There was no love lost, and they had some of the big boys, some of the Maple Leaf greats that were in their prime, in their heyday, and so many of those guys played with such grit and playoff style mentality. It gets you fired up. I hope the current Maple Leafs are watching that and getting a little bit of a hint.
Getting goosebumps for sure. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. We've had a ton of fun playing Sobeys My NHL picks for the past few months. As mentioned, on a weekly basis, one lucky winner is going to this year's Stanley Cup final. On behalf of Leafs Morning Take, thank you to Sobeys for being a huge part of our show this season. We're already looking forward to playing Sobeys My NHL picks again next fall, and maybe I do a bit better next fall as well, Rosie.
Not as easy as it looks, Nicky boy.
No. Let's turn back the clock now, Rosie, as we bring in former Toronto Maple Leaf from the Pat Quinn era. It is Jonas Hogland. Jonas, thank you so much for doing this. I know we talked to you a couple years ago when the Leafs were in Sweden. How are you? Okay, we're going to try to reconnect with you, Jonas. We don't hear the audio. Maybe just go back out, come back in, and we'll try to connect here with Jonas Hogland, who's down in Sweden. And obviously pumped for this series. But the Pat Quinn era, I remember Hogland and Sundin on the line, man. That was some great stuff, Rosie.
Oh, man, I know. I don't know. I don't know if that all blends together or what. But when you rattle off the names and the guys that were in that, whether it's Roberts or Thomas or Tucker, Sundin, or it just keeps going on and on. The list goes on, and unbelievably good players. And like you mentioned a couple of times, coached by the late great Pat Quinn, who I think he's just synonymous with being behind the Maple Leafs bench, if you ask me. I know he's been other places, but nothing sums up that era of Maple Leafs like Pat Quinn and all those guys we mentioned. So pretty exciting stuff. Hopefully we can get the audio figured out here and pick his brain a little bit about his memories of that.
Jonas, do we have you now?
I can hear you, but can you hear me?
Gotcha.
We got you, buddy. How are you? How you been?
Good. I'm good. How are you guys?
Fantastic. We're just buckling up for Sunday. When you found out it was going to be the Battle of Ontario, what went through your mind?
Well, there's a lot of memories flowing back, that's for sure. We had some. I heard you previously talking about it too, so there's some great memories for sure, and we had some battles back then. But it's going to be exciting. It's good to see Ottawa back in the playoffs too, and you know, for the people of Ontario, they have a lot of good hockey to look forward to.
Mm-hmm. Jonas, you look at the clips from those series, and the intensity level was through the roof. I know it was a different era, but what do you remember about going from the regular season to the playoffs, specifically the Battle of Ontario, and how much did the intensity level get ramped up before that in the locker room?
Well, as you guys know, there's a reason why you call it 2 seasons, right? There's a regular season and there's a postseason. There's a totally different game, especially back then. The physicality was ramping up, and we had some uh, auto. Then you can get away with a lot of stuff that you can't do today. So, but there was just especially when you play some regular season too, you get that rivalry heating up, and then you meet them in the playoffs. And we did that 2 or 3 years in a row. I think we had Ottawa, so there was a lot of rivalry. They had Bonk and Hossa and Alfredson obviously, and we had those. We had the players that we had too. So, and they weren't quiet in the regular season, but once the playoff season started, they heated up even more.
What do you remember about Pat Quinn behind the bench? Just an absolute legend, as you know, in these parts. Him coaching in those Battle of Ontario's against Ottawa.
Well, he was a player's coach for sure, but he let us play, and but he things could get a bit heated too on the benches. I remember one time in Ottawa too, but that was in the regular season when Tuxie and Greeny were fighting their players on the bench, and Pat wasn't too happy about that, so he could get pretty upset and heated, and he was a big guy and intimidating guy. So, but more often than not, he was quite cool and let us players play.
Leadership, I think, comes to the forefront a lot of the times when you see teams go on a run. What do you remember about that Maple Leafs locker room on who stepped up, who were the voices, who took on that leadership role on those teams?
Matt's for sure, and then we had Gary Roberts, who had 1 year. Obviously, that was in 2002. I think he was unbelievable that whole playoffs, especially when Matt got hurt in the first round against Ottawa, and then we went on to play Islanders in the second round and Carolina, unfortunately, in the conference final when we lost. But that year in that playoffs, Gary Roberts really stepped it up, and we had so many good leaders on our team. We had Mogilny, Tucker, Corson, Mats obviously, and Steve Thomas early on. So we had so many good leaders, and Curtis Joseph in net. I mean, Brian McCabe, Carberley. There was a whole team that could take on a leadership role, and everybody got along well and hung out outside the ring too. So we had a good chemistry on our team, and I think that that's really a big key when you want to have team success, is that when everybody get along, and we hung out with the wives, the teams together. Ty Domi, was a big leader on that team, obviously. So for a team to go far, I think you really need to care about each other, and that's what we did back then.
I was texting with Travis Green last night. He says hello, by the way, but I think that's the intrigue to this series as well. He was on the Maple Leaf side of things in the Battle of Ontario. Now he's the head coach of the Ottawa Senators. How weird is it to see Greeny behind the Sens bench right now?
Yeah, it is pretty weird. He was one of those guys that I hung out with most with back then. He's a really good friend, and it's good to see him do well. I think that for him, it's got to be feeling a little bit weird for himself to go in. He has to remember those times too when we were in the playoffs and had those runs, and so it's got to be a little weird for him. But he's done a great job with that team, obviously, and like I said, it's great to see Ottawa back in the playoffs, and they have a really good regular season, and I think Greeny has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, as we know about this current Maple Leafs roster, this core has had trouble in the playoffs before. It's no secret. But what do you think the problem has been with them in the playoffs, and what do you think they need to do to rectify that, specifically against the Senators coming up here?
Oh, I mean, they gotta let it go. They know everybody that plays for Toronto and in Toronto knows what kind of pressure it is, and I think the key players now, they've been there a lot. They've been there for a few years. I mean, the Marners and the Matthews and the Nylanders, they've been around a few times. Especially Marner has gotten some heat in previous playoffs. So I think, and he has a regular kind of. Hopefully, he can. You need the best players to be your best players, obviously, to go far in the playoffs. And hopefully, this year they can do it. And I think, I mean, Willie has had a great year, and Matthews has a little bit ups and downs, but he's playing well now. He's been hurt, and I think, like I said, your best players got to be your best players, and then I mean, have to stay fired up too to go in there, and then it's got to be a fun series to watch, and then just hope for the best.
What have you made of Willie Nylander's season? You talk about Sweden. Obviously, you got to talk about Willie, but he's had an unbelievable year, 45 goals this year for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, I thought actually he was going to reach 50 because we only had one Swedish player that ever reached 50, and that's Håkan Lou back in 89 or something, late 80s anyways. He's the only Swedish player to ever hit 50 goals. I thought it looked like he was able to reach that, but I mean, it's a big... it's a big ask to score 50, but he's had 45 and he's had an unbelievable year. He's getting better and better for each year, and he's one of those guys too that's been playing great in playoffs. And and it doesn't really matter what kind of game it is. He steps up he rises to the occasion pretty much every time. So he's had an unbelievable year.
Mm-hmm. Jonas, last one from me. I need a prediction on this Battle of Ontario here in 2025.
Well, I got to go Leafs. And they're going to win it in 6. So I say 4-2.
I like that.
Leafs.
Okay. And I was just going to leave you with this. We talked about Pat Quinn. I know it's from a distance here, but what have you made of the job Craig Berube has done? Do you see a lot of similarities between Quinn and Berube?
I think they play with a little bit more grit than they did previous years. Berube has been working hard. I think too that Berube, he holds them accountable, but he seems to be a player's coach too. Everybody seems to like to play for him, and then I don't know. I didn't know Keith well enough to say anything about what he done the previous years with the Leafs, but I think that this year, I think they seem to work harder. They seems to work more together than previous years, from what I can see anyway. So, but he has a good track record. He's won before. He won with St. Louis as a coach, so he's been there, and hopefully this could be the year for him.
Very well said, Jonas. It is go time here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Great to reconnect with you once again. Enjoy the postseason. Do you have any plans to come down to Toronto for this series?
Well, if they go deep in the playoffs, I might come over for sure. Toronto in the playoffs time is just an amazing city to be in. I have so many good memories from our time there, and especially in the playoff time. So if they go deep, I might come over for sure.
Awesome. Great news. We'll talk soon. Enjoy it, okay?
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, our pleasure. That is Jonas Hogland, former Toronto Maple Leaf with the Pat Quinn era. And yeah, I just vividly remember 14 with 13 on that top line for the Maple Leafs. That must have been something special for Jonas to play, obviously, with Matt Sundin, but have sort of that chemistry as well. And you're going to see that trending at some point in time on Twitter, Leafs in 6, because it trends every year and it pisses me off, but it's going to trend.
I kind of think that was in my mind when he was answering the question as well. I mean, nobody knows, but I could see it happening for sure. I think it's I think there's a high chance that it could go something like that, but they got to get the job done first. They got to get out to a good start in their home rink here. But I just keep going back to the names he rattles off. We're on
I
that
know.
roster. It's like,
Dude, they were
what?
stacked, man.
Oh my God. It's pretty wild that they could do.
Like, we're like, who are your leaders? He listed 16 players as the leaders, but it was true. Every guy was a leader.
And they were all like, do anything for the team type guys. Like to the point where like he kind of mentioned that Pat Quinn had to like settle them down as they're going into the Sens bench swinging, like it's so much better to pull back on the reins than it is to crack the whip. And unfortunately, this group in the playoffs, I don't even know if the whip has been cracked on them, but they certainly have needed it. So we'll see if, the learning lessons and all that bullshit. Let's see if they've learned their lessons and they realize that they need to adjust for the playoffs. And hopefully they take something, a little bit of something from those early 2000s teams, because I really think they could use it, especially against this Brady Tkachuk led Senators group.
At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. The best example I can say is they had like 16 Matthew Nyes on their team. Like it actually is insane when you look back at that team, man. Just the tenacity, the ferocity, every line brought some jam. Like it was just a different era. But like he talks about Roberts, dude, that guy would go through a wall for his team. Like it was insane what he would do.
Yeah, he was intense. He was around the Toronto area and has his, strength and conditioning program, which is next to none, I believe. I mean, the guys that go there is no screwing around.
No.
You're not sitting there on your phone on the flat benches. You are working while you're there, and he takes that very seriously. And that level of intensity is brought from his game. He was, they said when Mats went down, he was the first name that Jonas Hogland mentioned that stepped up and took on that leadership role at that integral time during the playoffs. And like you said, in that era, you needed some intensity and some grit and some guts, and those guys had it in spades.
In support of Sick Kids, Bobby Vandersloot. Great name, by the way. Thank you so much for the super chat. Dress Revo game 1. He gets that Brady first chance and lets him know any shit you're going to come have a chat with me. Tucker over the boards, baby. How do you feel about that? Revo for game 1, Rosie.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't think Tkachuk is going to care if Revo's in the line. He's not fighting Revo. He doesn't have to fight Revo. And all you're doing is taking that fourth line, which I think can look pretty damn potent right now and can really contribute and get kind of, share the minutes with that third line, and you can really roll them if you need to. And I think that takes some of the pressure off your top boys. You can save them for when you really need to. I don't see Revo being in the lineup to really do that. And because of that, you need other guys to step up. You need other guys to get in his face and other people's face. Like Domi's got to be running through Tim Stützle or whoever the hell he gets out there against. Finish every check. Make sure you're playing these guys hard. Stand up to everything. Don't back down from anything. Dictate the way the game's going to be played. Like everyone just looks at the Maple Leafs, and because of years past, they think that, they're going to get pushed around. Well, why? It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. And I think a guy like Max Domi, and his father show that in spades. It's exactly the definition of that thing. You don't have to be the biggest guy, but if you play big, it's going to be effective. And I want every one of those guys on the roster. I don't care if you're a skilled Swedish, what, I don't care. Play with a little bit of grit and some intensity, some tenacity. It's the playoffs. It's what you have lacked in the past, and you need to bring it to the table. And I don't think they need to activate Ryan Reeves to get that out of this group.
Set the tone. And the other thing I'd bring to the table, and you know this better than most people, is like just don't get like my concern from the Leafs perspective. They're going to get too enamored with Brady Tkachuk and his antics. I don't think you can let that dictate sort of how the series is going to go. I think there's a way to address it, as you've talked about throughout the week, but don't get invested in that sort of battle, right?
Yeah, like I think that there's a line. There's a line in the referee's mind. Everybody knows it's the playoffs, so it gets amplified. It gets ramped up a little bit. The intensity level is going to be high. The physicality, the body checking is going to be higher. And if Brady Tkachuk wants to cross that all the time, you just let him go ahead and cross that, and you hope the refs take care of business. But I don't like the idea of, you're going to back down and pussyfoot around and play like, princesses out there and let Brady Tkachuk take penalties. You're going to get the floor mopped with you. It's still the Stanley Cup playoffs. The intensity level is still going to be high. You have to match it and lead with that type of thing. But yeah, if Brady Tkachuk wants to go and be Mr. Crazy and kind of, go out of control because he's so hyped up. It's his first NHL playoffs. Then that is where he will take penalties. So yeah, I think you got to know where that line is, play up to the line. And if they want to go over it, by all means, let them.
And again, the schedule's out Sunday, Tuesday for game 1 and 2 from Scotiabank Arena in Toronto. The following interview is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers. Get custom ring building delivered in less than 4 weeks with the Charm Masterpiece program and an unbeatable pricing policy. Charm Diamond Centers is proudly Canadian-owned and operated since 1972 with more than 85 locations across the country through Charm and their sister brands. For more information, go to charmdiamondcenters.com as you bring in guest 2 of 2, two-time Stanley Cup champion. It is Derek Lalonde. What's going on, Newsy? How are you?
We can't hear you.
We're going to try once again to connect with you. Just the mic is a bit off, Newsy, but sit tight. We'll get connected with you and get. I want to get his thoughts, Rosie, as a coach, just the perspective of entering game 82. Not much to play for as the Leafs get set for game 1 on Sunday here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm curious to see how, what goes into that mindset. There are decisions that have to be made that aren't just run-of-the-mill decisions that you make throughout the first 80 games. You kind of get into your routine of playing and line change and all this. And now it's kind of like, well, shit, what should I do? What's the best formula here? And I don't think there's a golden answer to that. It's kind of be interesting to pick his brain about that.
Newsy, do we have you now?
No.
Okay. Can you get back out, go back in, and we'll try to connect with you? Our mistake here. It's just a bit of tech issues today, folks. But I think somebody who knows the Leafs pretty well, too, is Newsy. And I think you look at the Tampa perspective, there's a chance the Maple Leafs link up with Tampa here in round 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. But I'm always intrigued to know sort of what's said inside that room, specifically this type of game. You're playing Detroit. They've been out for a while. How you sort of approach a game like this. But we talked about off the top. They just got to play their style and they should be fine to go and ready to go, right?
Yeah, it's kind of that it's kind of a fine balance between, you don't want to lose your identity and leave your game plan and all of a sudden try to be something that you're not. But at the same time, you have to understand that things are going to be different. And I think the Leafs that's been lost on the Leafs in the past. It's almost like when the going gets tough and the intensity comes in and playoff hockey starts being played against them, whether it's the Bruins or the Panthers or the Lightning, they kind of revert back to like more preseason hockey where you're like, they kind of abandon their system. And I think you need to go to the other side of it and, accept the intensity. And I know I keep repeating myself on that, but I truly believe that's what stopped them, is not really being ready for playoff hockey. And that has to change this year.
Definitely. And again, it's all about setting the tone and where this Maple Leafs team and what they're going to look like in the first game of this series, and setting a tone moving forward against the Ottawa Senators. But that has sort of been a key for this team, is not starting on time. And it just seems like every year they surrender the first goal and get behind it even before a series starts. And the other thing I would look at too, Rosie, is like the goaltending. Anthony Stolar is on a different planet. The Leafs haven't come out yet and anointed him the game 1 starter, but they're going to. He has been so good. And I think, again, it brings me solace to knowing that Joseph Woll is right behind him, ready to go if Stoley can't do it.
Yeah, it's kind of nice because we were like, what's going to happen that last week of the playoffs? Where is it going to be a coin toss? Are they going to announce anything? Is it going to be a tough decision? Is it going to be controversial? But, luckily he made their decision easy. And what Stoley has done in the last 8 games has been nothing short of unbelievable. I mean, go find another guy with his save percentage. There isn't one. Go find a guy with 3 out of 4 shutouts. Go find a guy that's 8-0 in his last 8. You can't find it. He's as good as you could ask in that time period. So it's an easy question, easy decision as far as who's starting. I don't like, people are talking about the leash and his leash and how long's his leash. Like, you usually say that to a guy that's struggling and you're hesitant and you don't have a lot of confidence in him. I don't think he has a leash on him by any stretch. It's just that if they do decide to think maybe we would benefit from a coaching change, they absolutely have a guy that's, proven himself in the playoffs already, as you could call him inexperienced to a degree, but the experience that he does have, he has shown up and played very, very well. And that's for the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs. It's no small task. So I think you got to put some stock into that. But again, we're talking about our goaltending situation, and we are in a very good one right now.
Good news, by the way. Craig Berube talking to the media earlier on. By the way, it looks like Joseph Woll is going to start this game. We talked about OEL skating earlier on. Berube says he feels confident that Jake McCabe and OEL will be available for game 1, which is excellent news.
Yeah, baby. Oh, that's good news. I assumed that, but I'm surprised they said that already, but it's good. Maybe we're getting some more info, even upper body injury on
I know. That was
that's
shocking.
very interesting that they would throw that for how cryptic they've been forever and ever and ever, forever about their injuries. And all of a sudden it's all of a sudden they're being a little bit transparent with it, which is great. At least we know now. That's huge news if you ask me.
Yeah, it is. And we'll continue to track that over the next couple days. Even David Kampf is a guy who hasn't played the last little while. Before we get to Newsy, I believe we have connected with him. But is David Kampf on your game one roster, Rosie?
Oh, it's tough to say. Missing that time, I think Chief likes him. I think they like his reliability back there. He's not a guy that's going to jump off the score sheet to you and really make a big difference and be the highlight guy that you're going to notice. But I think he's pretty reliable defensively and in that center position on the fourth line. I just don't know if they want to pull out a Robertson or if they want to pull out a Pontus. I don't know about that. I really hope it's Yarny that comes out. I have not even noticed that guy one iota. I know he's missed a lot of time, and I just don't think he's slid into his role as well as maybe people would have hoped. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. It's bottom six, stuff, so it's not this major deal breaker. But as we know, we need everybody on board to be firing all cylinders in the playoffs. And I'm kind of leaning towards, I don't know, maybe you have Lawton back there. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm glad it's not my decision, I guess I should say.
Fair enough. I believe we do have Derek Lalonde. Derek, can you hear us?
I hope so. You got me?
Yeah. We got you, buddy. We got you. Got to clarify off the top. Your nickname is Newsy, right?
It is. It is Newsy after the famous Newsy Lone, obviously in the Hockey Hall of Fame. I just grew up on the American side of Cornwall, Ontario, where he grew up. So very prominent name through that Ottawa Valley, and it's stuck, and it's quite an honor. And I've had some people say I look like a Newsy, whatever that means. So it's Newsy. I'm telling you, there's people in the hockey world that don't even know my. You say Derek, if you would have started, hey, Derek's on, you probably would have got some eye rolls, but it's stuck. It's a good one, and that's where it's at.
Well, you're one of my favorites. Thank you so much for doing this. And obviously looking forward to the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Obviously, we cover the Toronto Maple Leafs. But I wanted to ask you, entering Game 82, what would that approach look like if you're Craig Berube? Obviously, with not much to play for this team.
Yeah, it's real. I know you guys were talking about a little bit earlier. I've been on both ends of it. I was on, obviously, those Tampa teams that were in similar situations a few times. And my first year in Detroit, we were on the other end of it, where obviously we weren't in the playoffs. I think the biggest thing for him, he doesn't want his team to slip in his habits. And he's going to talk about the things they've been good at this year, not giving up easy offense, continue work on the breakouts. He'll talk about the compete level. But at the same time, I don't think he's going to go scorched earth if it doesn't go well for him. I don't think outcome is a concern of his at all. I give Detroit some credit. Some of their best hockey of late has been when they were eliminated. They're trying to build something for next year, and they're going to be gamers tonight. And there's some proud guys in that room. So I think compete level on the Detroit side will be there. So I don't think he's going to be overly upset. He's going to roll four lines. He's going to harp on habits. You don't want to turn this on and off. But I think he's not going to be too concerned if the process is still there and they don't win. It'll be interesting to see on the penalty. I always battled on the penalty kill because they have top guys on the penalty kill and they're good at it. I don't know if you're going to see Matthews or even some of the D. Again, you're a coach, you're going to roll them, you're sticking with your process, but man, you'd have trouble sleeping over the weekend if one of his guys went down blocking a shot on the penalty kill. So it's going to be interesting to see tonight, but it's a reality of it.
Mm-hmm. Do you mentioned the minutes and rolling them. Do you almost flip that and give some of your bottom six, a lot more reps than they're used to, get them more touches, try to get some confidence going and get them into some familiarity with each other. And that kind of takes your big boys off the ice.
100%. Again, it's going to be a flow reality. They're competitors. I'm telling you, if this is 2-2 in the third and I know Marner's going to look over his shoulder. I know Matt's going to look over his shoulder. They're going to want ice. Nylander, he loves scoring goals. I don't care if it's game 82, game 6, game 10 of the playoffs. So they're competitors. They're going to want to play. But yes, he's going to roll lines. I'm fascinated going forward, diving into this Battle of Ontario as a matchup. I think there's a matchup advantage here for Toronto. And I'm just curious if Chief's going to build a checking line, and he has some options. Pacioretty comes in. We talked about Camp. I'm a big Camp fan. He wins face-offs. He's diverse, a little center wing there. I think he's a great bottom six. I know Sheldon used him a ton in his playoffs. So I don't know if he flirts with that a little bit going forward. I don't know, who's going to kind of be in that bottom six. So they're still tweaking some things, getting ready for Sunday.
Scott Laughton's the guy they picked up at the trade deadline, has looked much better the last couple games. What did you think of that addition, and where would you try to deploy him in the bottom six there?
I loved it. Newsy Nostradamus. I think I wanted that one. I called that one. I worked for Sportsnet that day. My feel is, first of all, I've loved Toronto this year. I saw it early on. We rolled in there with the Red Wings early on, and we played what you would call probably an uneventful game. Literally chances were 8 apiece. Toronto took a 2-1 lead into the third, and I think they only got maybe 3 or 4 shots against us, but they were comfortable with it. And they left that rink happy with a 2-1 win. You can see them starting to build their identity, starting to build their DNA. So there's enough offense in that top six. There's enough secondary offense. I wanted Scott Laughton. I wanted someone to just take pride in the bottom six, check a little bit, give them a little more DNA like that. And they went out and did it. I'm telling you, we don't win our Stanley Cups in Tampa without Johnny Gord, without the acquiring Barclay Goodrow, without acquiring Blake Coleman. Not the sexiest guys, but I really like what Toronto has done. Just feels a little bit different this year. And they've always had a chance, but I like their lines. I like their D depth. And again, I think they can create some matchup issues for Ottawa.
And knowing what their shortcomings have been in the past in the playoffs for this Maple Leafs team, playing this Battle of Ontario, what do you think the keys to getting off to a really good start are for this club?
Their identity. It's the same thing. I keep, boasting at how impressive I've been with Toronto. They have had like a playoff approach mentality from day one. You can just see in their underlying numbers. They don't give up odd man situations. They don't give up easy offense. They've sacrificed offense this year for defense. They're bottom half of the league in some offensive categories. That's never going to happen with that Maple Leaf team and kind of the talent they have. So I think the DNA and the buy-in is there, but just playing to their identity. I think they want to come out of that first period on Sunday. If they're up 1-0, if they're up 2-0, great. But I want them, no easy offense for Ottawa, no grade A's. Maybe I wouldn't even call it uneventful, but a playoff-like type period, because they got a chance for a long run here. And again, as a coach, I'm looking at these two lineups. I am fascinated with the matchup and what Chiefs going to try to exploit at home.
Yeah, that's a big thing for me too, is like, how do you see them playing it? And obviously home ice is a bigger factor than people lead on, and Maple Leafs have that in this Battle of Ontario. But the matchup game, what would you try to do when you look at Ottawa's top six and the Matthews line specifically?
Yeah, well, I again, Matthews, I know it sounds crazy, but my last year in Tampa, we beat Toronto in Game 7. And again, I know Toronto had to go back and face the media, and it was another first-round loss. But that Austin Matthews that year was different. I loved him as a player, competing against him. He was hard. He was heavy. It's almost like he's starting to take over a different DNA. And all superstars have kind of transformed and done that. I was lucky enough to witness it with Stamkos and Kucherov and guys like that. So he's a different animal. I guess my point is he's a world-class player. You can play him against Stutz, so you can play him against fire on fire, and I think they're going to win that matchup. Obviously, I love Shane Pinto. I experienced him at World Championships last year. He is a two-way center. He takes pride in not giving up easy offense. He takes pride in checking other lines. That's something Chief will avoid. So I expect him to go fire on fire. I expect him to go Matthews versus Stützle, and you challenge those guys to win that. I think where Matthews in is his career, the way he plays this game, I think he's going to be very excited about that matchup. And then you're probably looking at Tavares versus Cousins, which I would love to. And then you kind of eliminate Pinto. Again, you don't want Pintos out there every other shift. The one hard matchup that's not going to change and that's going to be McCabe and Tanev versus Stützle too. I don't think that's going to be changed. So again, I'm a coach nerd. I'm going to be fascinated in watching this. I'm also curious if Greener will try to get Tkachuk maybe moving around the lineup to avoid some matchups too. I think he'll start with Stützle, but it'll be interesting to see, and that's why I think this is kind of a fascinating matchup.
And we saw, the Tkachuks and their approach to the Four Nations face-off in that level of competitiveness that it was. This is Brady Tkachuk's first Stanley Cup playoffs. We know what that guy's got in his heart and the way he plays. He's going to be fired up. What would your messaging be to your group if you're about to face him in his first playoff experience?
Don't give him what he's good at. And what is he good at? He's good around pucks around the blue paint. He's good at getting around the net. You're going to hold your defense accountable for boxing him out, not giving him those easy offense. If he's in the blue paint 3-4 times in the first period, if he's getting tips on pucks and rebounds, that's not what Toronto wants. So they're going to just try to check him. They're going to take away his identity, and that's him being hard around that area. And then I think the Tanev, McCabe, deep pairing will be ready for that. And I also think Austin Matthews will in some ways. So that's what you do. And I know you also mentioned he's a unicorn, man. Brady Tkachuk, there's only one or two in the league, and we haven't seen the likes of him in a while in this league. He is special. He is that good. You have to look him in the eyes. You're going to have some attitude back with him, but you're going to stay within that line. You hope he's yelling and screaming at the refs and maybe over the top on emotions, not kind of gamesmanship where it's in his favor, which you saw at the Four Nations a little bit. So again, fascinating matchup, an unbelievable player, different type player. But again, I do think Toronto's equipped at home to be able to check him.
What's your read on the crease? Because I think more times than not, you look at this matchup and say, well, Linus Ullmark won the Vezina Trophy a couple of years ago. But then you look at how hot Stolarz has been for the majority of the season. Joseph Woll is an adequate backup, if you want to call him that. So how would you match up sort of the crease battle in this series?
Yeah, great question. Obviously, it's going to be Stolarz next with the way he's playing. And Stolarz and Woll are great players. They're playing at a high level. But a lot of their success I attribute to the team. Again, I keep harping on Toronto's team game has been at a high level all year long. And again, they've done their job. Their saves expected is tops in the league. They're making the right saves against grade A's. They're doing their job. But it's a team stat too. I like Toronto a ton with their depth, with this matchup. But Ullmark's a guy that could steal this series. You saw him steal games down the stretch. He has that ability. He could build confidence in that group. So again, all three goalies, which we mentioned, are going to be capable. Forsberg, if called upon, could do well in the series. But Ullmark does have that ability to steal this series, which is again why this is a really exciting, intriguing matchup.
Mm-hmm. Newsy, I need a prediction from you. Who's going to take down this Battle of Ontario?
I gotta be careful. I'm still a coach, but sure enough, I'm going to be ripped in social media for this prediction. But this is going to be one heck of a series. I'm very comfortable in saying Toronto can win this. And again, it's their depth, the way they stacked up their decor. Their general manager needs a pat on the back for the job he's done over the last couple of years. Obviously, Craig's done a heck of a job. They're just a little too deep. I like the DNA of their team all year long. But Ottawa could win this series. I wouldn't be surprised at the end, but I'm pretty comfortable in saying Toronto's going to win this series.
Look, I'll be honest, that feels good from, coming from somebody like you who is with those Tampa teams, man, absolute juggernauts and still continue to be one. So appreciate your time today. Have a great run here. Love having you here doing your stuff with Sportsnet and looking forward to watching here in round one.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Take care. That is Derek Lalonde. Of course, you can catch him on Sportsnet's coverage of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I just love the coaching breakdown. And like the matchup minutia is a lot of fun to break down, Rosie.
It is. It makes me excited to kind of watch and pay attention to those different things. There's no bigger time than the playoffs when that plays a factor. You can absolutely screw up as a coach. You can make a difference as a coach. Those decisions are going to be huge. And I don't know, he seems pretty high on the Leafs, man. It gets my blood going a little bit. It makes me excited. It is a reminder that, this team has checked so many boxes. He mentioned Tree Living needs a pat on the back for what he's done. I mean, that's stuff we've been advocating for all year long. And it's kind of incredible how you get pushback on that. It's like, well, what is everyone else watching? And again, it doesn't matter to me what's happened in the past. It wasn't the same team. It wasn't the same coach. It wasn't the same general man. Like it doesn't matter what happened in the past. People are so hooked to that. And I get they've been hurt for 50 years and there's so much scar tissue. Like I get all that, but why let that get in the way of so many great things that are going on with this franchise right now?
New team, new year. And again, a lot of people want to talk about down the road, just focus on the Ottawa Senators. I don't want to have any conversation about Tampa or Florida right now. It's just all about round one, this Battle of Ontario, the matchup game, the goaltending matchup. And I like that. I like the fact that he thinks they're going to go Matthews against the Stützle line, best on best. Because how often do we talk about Matthews and trying to keep him away from players? Like this guy is the highest paid player in the league. Actually, there was a project ran over at the LeafsNation.com asking about like sort of X factors and guys in the core four who need to elevate and be the top guy. And I think the macho dog in this series has to be Austin Matthews. Like I think he needs to have a big playoff run. I think he needs to have a big series and prove his worth. And I think there's even more pressure now, Rosie, with the captaincy too.
Yeah, and I think that, that's part of the reason why facing these guys is preferable to, going up against, say, the Florida Panthers. You got the Barkovs of the world, and let's face it, you can shut down Austin Matthews and make his life difficult. And I don't think that the Ottawa Senators, they've got a lot of positive things going on. And you mentioned Allmark can steal the series, all the different things. But I think that we absolutely are far ahead in that matchup where they don't have anyone to put against Austin Matthews that's going to be able to win that matchup. And it's integral for him to get off to a good start. If he can have a huge first series and they can manage to get the win, then going into that, whoever comes out of Florida is going to be huge for him. Again, there's just a lot of reason why we wanted the Ottawa Senators. It's not going to be easy, but the matchup is certainly better, and it's crucial to get off on the right foot if you're looking at a long playoff run.
Definitely. And we're always careful because it is the Leafs, and the last 10 years has been torment and pain. But I've been saying this for the majority of the season. You have me on the record. The blue line excites me. Even the conversation we just had about McCabe and OEL and Chief earlier today saying it's highly likely or something to that effect that we're going to see these guys. He's highly confident we're going to see them for game one. I like the way the blue line is built. They're bigger. They're stronger. They're more effective. They're more the type of blue line I think you need to have success in the Stanley Cup playoffs and the crease. And I like the fact that Newsy brought up the team in front of him. Like I think it's easy to look at the goalie and say, hey, he's been great, but the system in front of him, and specifically the last little while, Rosie, when you look at some of the games, including the Tampa one where they're blocking shots left and right, it's been so different to see this type of scrappy and clawy Maple Leafs hockey.
Yeah, and right from the get-go at the beginning of the season, as Craig Berube implemented his system and his standards, a big thing is those odd man rushes. They're almost non-existent anymore, and they used to reign supreme against the Leafs. Like just last year, it was breakdown after breakdown after breakdown after turnover after giveaway, odd man rush. It was constant, man, and you would be relying on your goalie so much more than you needed to, and they didn't even have a goalie that was able to stand up to that kind of pressure. It seems like a long time ago that we were watching that kind of stuff because they are so much more defensively sound right now. And to go back to the matchup stuff, like with Austin, Mitch, and Matthew Knies, and you talked about the minutes that top pairing in Tanev and McCabe are going to be eating up. Imagine trying against those guys with Matthew Knies being that power forward. Austin Matthews, just give him a chance with the puck and what he's capable of doing with it. Marner, the level he's playing on right now, he's also defensively sound and understands how to play that side of the game. I mean, you pair that with that top two D-men there, and they know what they're doing and they're gelling, and it looks like and then you haven't even gone back to the third layer of having Stoley back there and what he's been doing. So there's a lot of reason to be high on this team and to be confident. And again, I don't want to get too high on them. It's the NHL. Yeah. It's the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean, anyone can win a series. There's upsets all the time. Ottawa is no slouch. They've gotten so much better, and they've got a lot of gamers over there. But if you want to ride with this team that has got such a big following around this Leafs nation, hell, I can't think of a better time to do it than right now. They've got so many pieces in place.
If you want to break it down this way, I think the goaltending, maybe you give the nod to Ottawa just because Allmark won the Vezina Trophy, but you can say it's a wash. The blue line, I think Jake Sanderson's a stud. It goes without saying. He's by far their top defenseman. I think there's a significant drop-off after Sanderson. I'd give the nod to Toronto's blue line. So effectively, it comes up to the conversation up front. And I bring it up, the bottom six, right? We just talked about Shane Pinto, who just seems to dominate the Maple Leafs early on in his career. I think the bottom six has a bit of an identity that the Maple Leafs don't. Even Adam Gaudette's had a huge year. If you recall, he was a Toronto Marley a couple of years back. The Highmores of the world, guys like that. Like, that's going to be a big evolving story for me is, yeah, we could talk all we want about the big boys and the core four specifically, throw Matthew Nyes into that conversation, but how much offense, if any, are the Maple Leafs going to get? Like, if they can get guys like Pacioretty and Domi and Lawton and Kempf and others to chip in now and again, I think they put themselves in a really good position to win this series, Rosie.
Yeah, and I think that their bottom six and their depth is, I think it's come on strong recently. We talked about Lawton, and he had his best game as a Maple Leaf, last game. So he's trending in the right direction and doing what he's needed to do to kind of, make his impact on this roster. I don't know if Bobby McMahon, if he's going to play in the top six or the bottom six, but there's a guy that could absolutely score a couple of goals that could be difference makers that you look back at a series and say, wow, that was a huge one out of that guy. Max Domi, I think he's kind of built for the playoffs. Like he's a playmaker, but he's got that intensity level that can play a factor. Lorentz could step up and score a big goal, and he did last game, and it was pretty. He scored multiple pretty goals this year where, it showcases that even though he doesn't crunch a lot of minutes, he's got some skill in there and he's capable of doing that. So anything they can get from the bottom six is huge, and I think they got the guys in place that are capable of doing it. And as we've talked about, when teams go on long runs, you always look back and say, wow, they got a lot from their bottom six. They had guys from, not their core group that stepped up and played factor in certain games along the way. And obviously in tight playoff games, that can be a difference maker.
It's now time for the crispy hot take of the day, presented by the Ninja Crispy 4-in-1 portable glass air fryer.
Meet the first of its kind, the Ninja Crispy portable cooking system. The power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand, so you can cook big or small batches. Just prep it, crisp it, serve it, and store it all in one.
It is an all-in-one system. It includes 4-quart, 6-cup Tupperware glass containers and 2 storage lids. The Ninja Crispy is thermal shock resistant. It can go from frozen to crispy in minutes. With the Crispy Power Pod, you get the power of a full-size air fryer in the palm of your hands. The 4-quart container fits 4 pounds of chicken or veggies. Cook a personal-sized meal in 7 minutes in the 6-cup container. Max Crisp, bake, air fry, and recrisp with the Ninja Crispy. You can prep, cook, and store anything from crispy favorites to one-dish meals. Visit their website in the link in the show description. And stay tuned for your chance to win a free Ninja Crispy. Another hot take for you today, Rosie.
Nom, nom, nom. Yeah, let's take this. Vicky's had some hot takes lately. Let's see what he's got.
This one is scorching. It is red hot. Here is producer Vic's hot take of the day. The Leafs will sweep the Ottawa Senators in round 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Ooh.
Vicky, how dare you? No, I cannot get on board with that. Hey, I would be thrilled if they did. I would be thrilled if they could. I love it, but I don't see any reason to believe that. I think, we talk about the matchups being good and whatnot with Newsy, and that's all great, but they have struggled with him this year. I think that's a factor. Led by Brady to Chuck, where he's going to be amped up. That's going to be a factor. We've talked about their goaltender who's capable of stealing the show and being, that guy that kind of can goalie a team for games on end. So for that reason, I think absolutely not. I'm not announcing that, not to mention how on fire Twitter would go if Leafs fans start calling for a sweep. But I'll take a win any way we can get it. I'm not predicting a sweep, though. Vicky.
A lot of calls for a gentleman's sweep in the chat, actually, which would be Leafs in 5. I could see it. I think people are looking back to the day where the Leafs swept the first Battle of Ontario, but I think it's going to be so difficult. I think adjustments, matchup games, so vital this time of year. And I know we talked about it. Ottawa played really, really well against the Maple Leafs in the regular season. They swept the 3-game season series, and they played them tight. And I do not want to see that perimeter game. You got to get sort of in the tough areas to be able to produce in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And the hope and the aspiration is that the Maple Leafs can get to that level. But I think Ottawa is going to take at least 1 game in this series. I still have the Leafs winning in 6 games, but I think it's going to be closer than maybe people would like. The Sens are a really good team. I got to give them credit. You got to respect your opponent, Rosie.
100%. It is the Stanley Cup playoffs. They have made it for a reason. They have played good hockey. They have pieces in place. The things we've talked about. It's going to be difficult. It's going to take your best, and you absolutely have to take them seriously. I mean, I cannot imagine a Maple Leafs team with what they know and all the lessons they've learned would do anything but take them serious. But if they play their best hockey, I absolutely think they can take them down in 5 or 6 games. But a sweep would be something special, man. And that's the last time you're going to hear me say that word.
Damn you, producer Vic, for instilling this in our minds. But a great spicy hot take to finish up this week. Breaking news coming in from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner. Every face-off, hat-trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app and use the code NATION. That's NATION, NATION, to get in on the game. Must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connexontario.ca. That's my official play. Leafs in 6. Maybe you want to sniff at Mitch Marner to lead the series in points. I would look at that. Matthews to lead in goals. And if you want to look down the road, why not take a flyer on a Matthew Nyes Conn Smythe trophy, Rosie? That's big words.
Louise. That would be a high value pick, as I don't think that would be pretty high on Vegas's list right now. I'm not looking down the road too far. I'm looking at tonight. We still have a game. People probably forget and don't want to hear about it, but there is a hockey game
What's
tonight.
your play tonight? Who do you like to produce here?
William Nylander. I want him to pop off.
You're the only guy who's going to watch this game tonight.
He's been lurking in the weeds. It's been Mitchie talk about 100 and Matthews talk about 400, and it's been about Johnny T and his quest to, blow by 40 or whatever the hell it is. Yeah. And I think Willie's kind of been biding his time. He ebbs and flows a little bit, and I think right before playoffs, he's going to pop off and bury one and say, look for me come round 1. I like Willie tonight.
By the way, Zach Phillips makes a great point. I like the value in Anthony Stolar's Conn Smythe 80-1. I'll add Joseph Woll to that conversation. That's a spicy hot take. We're going to see both goalies in the series. That's my perspective, in my opinion. And do not sleep on Joseph Woll. Speaking of which, we had a bit of a cuck in the room there. We Newsy Lone stuck around. He watched us. Did you feel the pressure like I did, having an NHL head coach just listen in on us?
Yes, that was a considerable amount of time before he turned off his computer.
No, I was texting with him. He's like, "Is it okay if I just stick in there and watch and listen and do some homework?" I was like, "Sure, bud."
Yes, brother, do it up.
He said Rosie's dialed in. That was a direct text from Newsy.
Love it. Like and subscribe, Newsy. We're racking up the followers right now, and we're going on a little run, baby. I am excited. Got to get by this POS game tonight, though. At least we can wait for Nylander to bury so I can make some money.
Yes, sir. Okay, that's going to do it. Again, announcement, we don't have a show tomorrow. It's Good Friday, so we're taking the rest of the week off. Coming up on Sunday, as mentioned, the plan is to be down at Greta Bar for the pregame and the postgame. So I'll be there in some capacity, probably doing the pregame show. Zach Phillips will have the Leafs Nation After Dark from Greta, Game 1. I can't believe it's here, man. It feels like just yesterday we were talking about the preseason, getting off to a good start under Craig Berube, and now this is the most important time of year. Everything I talk about, you hate it. I always bring it up. Wake me up in playoffs. Well, I answered the call this morning. Playoffs have started. I'm good to go here, Rosie.
Yes, well, at least we know who we're playing, and it's set, and we got the times and the days and the dates, and we know what it is. We just have to wait a little more to get there and dodge one bullet. I don't even want to say it, but let's just get through this game against the Detroit Red Wings with everybody healthy and really get ready for the real deal here. Like you said, you haven't cared about anything but this for months now. We're just about there.
What are the chances you tune into tonight's game and are playing Sarah McLachlan in the background? It's game 82, and there's a couple of notable free agents on this roster. Could be their final regular season game as a Maple Leaf. Think about that.
I don't care. It doesn't matter. I don't care. I don't care what the regular season game or who's what. Do your job.
I will remember you. Oh, we're going to get copyright.
You used to seeing dogs with like one eye when that song's playing. That's sad. Donate to the dog shelter.
My dog's got one eye.
Jesus, I
It's
believe
tough,
it.
man. Glaucoma, buddy. I get you.
No, I'll be watching either on my phone or on the radio here because my boy has got his first lacrosse game.
Nice. Okay.
And yeah, I don't mind not being totally present for this one because it is the most useless game of the entire season. So no guilt here, but be nice if they finished on the right foot and kind of maybe got some contributions from some bottom six guys as they have been already, and just really kind of do one last little dust up before the real deal would be perfect.
What does that T-shirt say?
Now we go, baby.
It is
Now we go.
showtime. Showtime, folks. I know we got a
Almost.
question in the chat. When is game one? It's Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So adjust your calendars accordingly. I know it's Easter Sunday, but this is going to be a lot of fun. Rosie will, I guess, talk at some point over the next few days here. There's the fire alarm test. Here we go.
Wow.
I told you. Did I not see it up the entire week? And my
10
boy downstairs is a hockey fan. He's like, you know what? I like to wait until your show's done. He thinks we're done at 12. So there's the fire alarm test. We're going to say goodbye at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Now we go. Take care, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews. We got clips. We got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.